Oh, excuse me. Good afternoon all. Welcome to Social Care Tackling Poverty Service Transformation Committee. Any apologies for absence, please?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Cabinet members Alison Anthony and Hayley Gwilliam today.
Thank you. I've had none to date. Any disclosures of personnel or prejudicial interests, please?
None indicated in the room, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Item 3 is the minutes. To approve the minutes from October the 13th, page 1, page 2 and page 3. Any matters arising? Leslie can't hear me. Can everybody else hear me?
Yes, Chair, we can hear you in the room.
Right, hang on. Let's just answer Leslie quickly then. Can we have a mover, please? And a seconder.
Yeah, I can move as a true record.
Thank you.
I'll second it, Chair.
Thank you. And then we move on to item 4, Swansea Council Panel Performance Assessment Report, Target Operating Models and Transformation Goals. Do we know who's moving this? Is it David?
I'll introduce, if that's okay, Chair, and then Head Service and Jane will come in and talk a bit more about the detail. So as the report that's before you explains, this report and ask of the committee stems from a recommendation from the recent panel performance assessment, where the reviewers concluded and advised that the Council's corporate transformation plan would benefit from I guess some greater, more integrated, wider understanding across the council and across our citizens, really, as to what the purpose of all this transformation activity was effectively. So what's been asked of us, along with all of the other related committees, is to effectively look at two things. Can we better iterate, better describe from the committee's perspective, what is the intended core purpose of the transformation programs that sit within the remit of this board? So you've got 3, you've got children's services transformation, adult services transformation, and the enabling communities strand. So can you describe or give some advice about description of the core purposes of those strands, but also what the intended end state would be? So if we were successful in the transformation that's being delivered via those programs, how would things be different at the end of it? So you're imagining forward 3+ years. If we get on with delivering all of this activity that sits under those programs, how will things be different? So that's the end state, is the, I guess, the descriptor of what we're trying to get. So those are the two functions of today's discussion. The examples that have been given in the report, not of these programs particularly, but they're quite good indicative ones. So I'll read them out to help committee members understand them. So if we looked at the More Homes programme, that's pretty clear. The More Homes programme, the core purpose of that programme is to ensure a sufficient supply of affordable homes and effective homelessness prevention. That's the point of that piece of work. And then as an example of an end state, so the digital transformation programme, the end state's being described as seamless, digitally enabled customer experiences underpinned by real-time data. So those are two examples of a core purpose and an end state. Your task today is to come up with what are the core purpose and end state descriptors for the 3 programs that sit within your remit. So what I was going to suggest, if that's helpful, Chair, and you're happy with this, if the leads for those transformation programs who are in the room gave a bit of a bit of context around, a bit of a descriptor around what those programs are doing, yeah, that will hopefully start to get you into the space of then having a discussion about, all right, having listened to that and from your knowledge of all the work that the committee's done to date, how would we describe the core purpose of those 3 programs, and how would we describe the end state? I think one of the reasons that you in particular are being asked to do this is we want this to be understandable to the public. Yeah, our tendency as officers perhaps is to describe things technical jargon sort of thing, whereas what we're looking for is very straightforwardly understandable statements about what's the point of all this stuff effectively, how will it make the world different. And you who have to work with your citizens all of the time to get across clear political messages, you know, you're well placed to give that input. Does that make sense, Chair? And are you happy to take that approach if we hear from the leads of those transformation programs, just to give a summary of the work that's underway, and then perhaps the committee can have some debate around those 2 big asks? Does that make sense, Chair?
Yeah, that's fine, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where we are to date, and we can open it up then to the floor. Thank you.
Okay, so the leads are going to take it in turns. We'll start with Amy.
Good afternoon. Okay, just in terms of our core purpose of adult services, and particularly around our transformation programme. So our core purpose we describe as working alongside people to live well and safely in our communities. So that's our vision as a service, our purpose as a service, and our transformation programme and our service plans and our delivery plans are aligned to the corporate plan, the council corporate plan. Sorry, I was always going to add an additional word there. So there's steps in the corporate plan about how we're going to deliver this, but we've translated this down to our transformation programme. So we've taken the main corporate plan, put it into our transformation programme, and we've got 11 projects within our transformation programme. So we want to deliver our vision of working alongside people to live well and safely in our communities. And we turn this into a very sort of small or acronym, I suppose, or sorry, it's not an acronym. I should have rehearsed this beforehand. 3 Ps is what we call it. Sorry, I'll just call it the 3 Ps. It's how we shorten it. And that's around prevention, promoting independence, and prioritising resources. So that means everybody who comes into adult services, their offer, so when the public need our services, we're always going to offer them a preventative offer first, prevention, early help. At the core of everything we're doing, we're always trying to promote independence. So everyone that comes to us, we are going to try and support them to live well and safely in their own homes in the first instance, whether that requires managed care or one of our early help services, or if where they do require more managed intensive services, it will always be to promote their independence. So we want to support people to be as independent as possible. The 3rd P, prioritising resources. So this isn't about us having an infinite pot of funding. This isn't us having the infinite amount of social workers to do assessments with people. We want to make sure the resources we've got are used most effectively to target into the right people at the right time. So as I mentioned, we've got 11 transformation programmes or activities that are helping us deliver this. Excuse me, I'll just get to my right slides. Oh, sorry. So I'll just, before I go into the detail, just quickly on the 11 programmes, I won't go into all of them in detail, but what our end state looks like, or how we're going to get there, is more people are supported earlier to live well and independently as possible and for longer. More carers are supported in their caring roles. This is unpaid carers. We want to ensure that people can access the right support at the right time where needed. This means no waiting lists. This means having a functional operating front door or a hospital response where we can offer people the support when they need it. It's also about, to prioritise resources, it's about reducing the amount of care that we are offering. it is about making sure the care we're offering is just the absolute right size for those individuals. So that's rather than starting saying you will need 4 calls a day that have 2 staff members in your home, for example, you know, we may start with that, but we will get to the position where saying what's the right support, and that will require a reduction in the amount of care. And we want people to have care for the shortest periods really they need, you know, rather than overprescribe this care when people need managed care. But first and foremost, we will offer that preventative approach. And we also underpin our approach with ensuring that staff feel valued and have manageable workloads. This is our care staff, this is our social work staff, this is our early help teams as well, and our commission services. So that's our approach, and it's delivered through 11 projects in the next 4 years, or we're in year 1 of 4. So this, I'll just pick some highlight ones. So this is around progressing to the next phase of embedding our prevention and early help model. It's around ensuring that we have direct support for carers. So this is via our commissioned and our internal delivered support for carers. It's around reviewing our intermediate care services. So this is where we work together with health colleagues around intermediate care that we offer. So preventing hospital admissions and supporting those post-hospital to ensure we encourage independence and support people to go home first, and then support them with assessments and any care they need. This is about our continued strength-based approach to assessment and care management. So focusing on what people can do rather than what they can't, and supporting them in that way. It's about remodelling our internal day services. We've brought you reports here before, and we're due to come again around how we're going to do that to align to this approach. Same with our internal reablement team, the home care team. We're offering increased reablement. So the offer will be to everybody, first and foremost, to have that right package of care, as I've mentioned already, where care is needed, and supporting people with reablement to return home independently as well, or live independently. We're transforming our mental health services, working alongside our health board colleagues around the transformation plans, and also aligning to the framework of the Welsh Government mental health strategy. We're reviewing our externally commissioned dom care model to make sure that it's appropriate for the needs of the people we're supporting now. And we're ensuring that we have a workforce strategy, so that approach to supporting our workforce to deliver this is ensuring we have a workforce strategy to go alongside this. And then some other activity around ensuring our data and our systems support our vision, but I know Jane will touch on that, I'm sure, as well. So that's just a summary of the specific projects that we deliver and take through our transformation programs. And just to go back to the core point, our vision and what we're talking about is working alongside people to live well and safely. And we're going to achieve that by doing supporting more people earlier and to live independently, supporting more carers, and making sure the right support at the right time. So addressing our waiting list and making sure we have front door options for people where they can come into us and know where we can get that help. So that's adults.
I just check, Chair. Do you want the committee members to have an opportunity to ask questions after each summary? Would that help?
Yeah, I think that might help, Dave. Right, any questions for Amy, please? Any observations? Angela first, please. Councillor Connor, did you indicate?
No, sorry.
Have you got a question? No. Okay, thank you.
No.
Patience?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just wondering, in terms of resources, where we're at with delivery in terms of staff and budgets.
Yeah, I don't have the final staff figures, the current staff figures in front of me, but I'll during the meeting I'll try and get them. But we've got around 1,200 staff who work in adult services. I suppose there's a quick answer in terms of that, but we also have a huge workforce in our commission services. So our budget in adult services is 182 million. Or just short of 183 million. This is made up of 130 million that we spend on those commission services. So that's on direct care. It won't always have a member of staff associated, but this might be around residential care, dom care in the community. It can also be around direct payments where people are purchasing their own care, but it can also be our preventative services that we're commissioning, like the Carer Centre and others. We spend just over 50 million on staffing. So that is internal staffing. That's funding our staff in our care homes and our residential day services and our social work teams and our early help teams. And then we have just short of £3 million on other services that help support the infrastructure of that. That 182 million or 183 million does include income as well. So that income comes from grants and it comes from fees that people are paying us, for their care. And I think, yeah, is that okay, giving that kind of breakdown?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's helpful to know that we're in a strong position, you know, to deliver on the policies. Thank you.
Any more
If I-
questions?
Yeah, if I can, Chair, not so much
Hi
a
there, Alan,
question.
okay?
Yeah, a kind of observation. I was looking at the statement here that the core purpose of the More Homes programme is to ensure a sufficient supply of affordable homes. I suppose how you address affordable homes and what that means is, I suppose, is questionable there as how to define affordable. But there's no question that housing is a real need. I mean, across the city, bearing in mind there are so many thousands on a waiting list for a home. I mean, how well, I suppose how is the transformation going to address that problem of supplying more homes?
Can I just come in and check that's given as an example of one of the other transformation programs sitting under another committee. It wasn't for this committee to debate that. You're looking for today, what's the equivalent from what you're hearing from around the transformation programs around care? How would you badge that in similar language to the description that was used for the More Homes program? Sorry, I was probably a bit unclear when I gave the
No, okay, that clarifies that concept. I think I leave the planning, leave the More Homes to the planning committee then. Thank you, Chair.
Mine? Thank you. Kerry first, and then Myra, is it? No, Myra first, and then Kerry, sorry. Myra?
Okay, I'm wondering, I'm having a lot of feedback with new tenants just moved in. Some of them got mental health problems and they're still waiting 6 months down the line for tenancy support or some sort of other support. I have told them to go down to the one-stop shop down on the waterfront, but they say, oh, it's too far to go, whatever. But I'm wondering, is this incorporate in with this? Because tenancy support for a new tenant with mental health problems, they do need that support. When they can't put that support in place for that person for mental health problems, a tenancy support worker, and they are finding their mental health within the 6 to 7, sometimes 8 months before anybody has been to see these people. And they've been forwarded on then to other agencies, which in the beginning, if the support was there, they wouldn't be going on to other agencies. So I'm wondering if this comes in under anything, because people do need support when they're moving into a house, especially when it's social housing or any sort of home, especially if they got underlying mental health problems. Anything they gone into hospital, come home, they got mental health problems. Is there anybody? No, I mean, some underslip the line and don't get registered within the hospital that they need the help and support. And they come to the ward councillors for some sort of help and support. So I'm wondering whether tenancy support does that fit in with all this? Because at the end of the day, we're looking at mental health, we're looking at housing, we're looking at different agencies that are included in this project. That's all, man.
Thank you,
Shall I
Myra.
come back in to
Yes,
respond
please.
to this now? Yeah, certainly. Okay. So tenancy support specifically is led by our colleagues in the in housing in the Place Directorate. But what we do have is joint meetings around the housing support grant and the activities there. And we were so we talked to our colleagues in housing to make sure that our early help offer, which would be in that space, is aligned to the strategies housing have. So yeah, it's joint, but they're separate. Sorry, we make sure we join up, but they are separate approaches. I think particularly those a few examples given. So when people have got mental health problems or challenges, I think there's two pieces of work we're focusing on at the moment around this. So one is around our mental health transformation. So this is ourselves and the Health Board, and it aligns to the Welsh Government new strategy around mental health, or strategy they published earlier on this year, which is very much about focusing, getting people support earlier rather than joining waiting lists. So it's about those single points of access. There's also initiatives like 111 Press 2, which can get people mental health support as well. So we don't want people on waiting lists for months and months for mental health support. It's clearly a real focus of the Welsh Government and our regional and our local approaches around transforming mental health services. So it won't be instant, but it's quite a medium term plan, I suppose, for us to change those services. I think the other aspect around that support for individuals is around our early help team as well. So our increase in early help offers of early help lead workers will be able to support individuals where they've got different issues, challenges, support that's required. So our investment and our increased activity in that area will support those tenants. And tenants, residents, homeowners, anyone really in communities. It's about us supporting people earlier. And then the third point about hospital discharge, we're hospital home first teams. So our social work and alternatively qualified staff in hospitals supporting people to do that discharge planning. So when people are leaving hospital, we are making sure those wraparound services are there to help people sustain being at home and not coming back into hospital. So we've got a number of, that overlaps 3 of our transformation programmes, I suppose, that you've just described there in that example. So yeah, lots of work happening in that space.
Thank you. Kerry first and then Angela,
Just to-
please. Kerry, can you hear me? Kerry?
No, we can't hear you, Councillor Kerry Evans. I think he's saying to move on.
Okay, Angela, we'll go back to Kerry.
Hiya, thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering how long the wait lists are for the mental health wait lists that you mentioned, and also just, out of interest, if somebody is in hospital and waiting for packages to be put in place when they come out, how long they have to wait. I know a relative actually in England is in hospital still after 2-3 weeks, just waiting still for care package. To be put in place at home, and then they're taking up a bed in the hospital, but there's not a package in place yet to come out. So I'm just wondering what our lists are like here. Thank you.
It's a very good question, and I'm sorry I don't have the stats to hand because we look at these daily, these stats. So we do know in terms of the amount of people that are in hospital and those who are waiting for care. What we try and offer everybody is those who are returning home with a package of care is a period of reablement. So we want people to come into our home care service, our internal care home service, to be supported both with our staff providing home care and also our colleagues therapists who are providing people with the right equipment and what they're needing at home. So it means that if they have that long-term package of care, it's right sized and it's most appropriate for them. I'm sorry I don't have the stats, but I will the stats to hand, even though we see them daily. I will get them after the meeting if that's all right in terms of the waits. But in terms of the people waiting for care generally, I had the list about an hour ago and we've got 30 people waiting for care. The very longest wait is around 90 days, but that's someone in the community. But the majority of the people are up to 7 days they've been waiting for care. So the 90 days person is just very, is to do with the geography of where they are. They're trying to align the package of care. And they've also turned down a package of care that we offered once as well. But, you know, we're looking at this. So we've got, we're tracking these regularly. But I'll come back to you, particularly with the hospital stats.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Perry, do you want to try again? Very quiet there. Do you want to put it in the chat box? Just a quick one from me, Amy. With regards to reablement, obviously I'm very aware of Bone in Mine House and the good work they do there. But, you know, are we looking to open any more facilities, or is there adequate provision there? And second question is about, we talk about our partners. You know, I've been around long enough to remember rota visits where we would go out and we would build relationships. We would do inspections on our own properties. So would it be good to start looking to build relationships for us to go out and visit premises that are managed by us and managed by others, you know, to try and bang our heads together to get well, more of a resolution, but reablement, I think, is the big one for me. So about the provision, and are we looking to secure any more? Thank you, Amy.
So today we're not looking to add any more. What we're looking to do is maximise the use that we've got. So this is between ourselves and the health board. So we call this P2 beds or pathway 2 beds, and these are reablement beds when people are stepping down from hospital or need to step up from the community and have a period of bedded reablement. So something like Bone in Mine House. We have in the last couple of years developed T Westfield, which is one of the units in T Wenarloedd. Over in Wenarloedd, so that's an internal service. The health board have also got a number of P2 beds, so these pathway 2 beds in Singleton Hospital, and they've also got them in Neathport Talbot Hospital as well. What we are looking at as a region, and we do this via the Regional Partnership Board and Communities and Older People's Board, is making sure that we're maxing out the use of all those beds and that people are getting that reablement support that they need, and that they have that really quick, timely move on from that bedded reablement offer where needed. So, which is why we track all those figures that were just mentioned in the previous question. I think we always look at the balance of our P2 beds. So I'm saying not today, but it's not a never either. That's fair to say.
Thank you. And just one more quick one. You know, I know we've come on leaps and bounds regarding support for our carers and for volunteers who are doing, you know, a massive amount of support. So when we talk about carers, it's very much for me for, you know, that mechanism of support. And yes, you know, we've put packages in to support them. You know, we've got the carer centre, we've got support mechanisms ourselves. But to me, we never forget about the carers, because without the carers, it's all going to just collapse. And as fragile as it is at the minute, you know, we've worked really hard to achieve where we are today. But to me, carers are a main one again, and a lot of work has been done on this committee, you know, to raise the profile of the carer and the work they do. So just really a quick note to say, thank you for identifying our carers and the work they do, and thank you for taking them on this long, long pathway, because without them, I think we'd be in a very, very difficult position. But carers come in all shapes or forms, Amy, you know. I think until you become a carer, in a lot of cases, you don't realise the total commitment and probably the support you can give to support the other services that are available. So thank you for coming today and being quite open and frank with us, because I think we appreciate that. But we are moving and we're moving forward. But I understand what David's saying. We just need it as basic as possible. And I'm probably one, along with Councillor Walton and others on this platform, that need it to be as basic and as probably basically understanding as we possibly can to get that massive result that we're looking for. So thank you for coming today, and I appreciate your input here today. So thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Chair. Shall we move on to children's?
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Chair. So for Child and Family Services, we have a vision that is doing what matters to make things better for children, young people and families. And that was a vision that was created by the whole staff group. And underpinning that, we have identified and agreed some ambitions. And these are: more families are supported earlier, children and families can live their best lives together, less children needing statutory intervention, less children in care. When children are in care, it's for shorter periods of time. Staff feel valued and have manageable caseloads. We have greater resilience to respond to changes in grant funding, and we have minimal staffing vacancy levels. And then overarching all of this is our 3-year transformation plan, which is very similar to Amy in that we've tried to create some consistency across social services, and we do also have 3 Ps, but ours is slightly different in that our 3 Ps are around people, permanence and prevention. And we have some key projects within those 3 Ps that we're aiming to deliver over the next 3 years, which should realise our target operating model. And I'll go through the projects, some of the key projects in a moment, but our target operating model has been constructed around 3 levels of need, which the design is around about considering whether people need support, whether they need care and support, or whether they need accommodation, care and support. And in essence, what we're seeking to achieve is that most people need support, less people that would need care and support, but even less people would need accommodation, care and support. And that would take us on a journey of rebalancing our business so that it is primarily focused on prevention and early intervention. And there is less recourse to statutory intervention. And statutory intervention is primarily when children are on the Child Protection Register, that we've put matters before the court, or where children have orders issued by the court, which means that they either are looked after by the local authority, they have a special guardianship arrangement to live with their family, or they are placed for adoption. So our vision is that we have less children that need to be in that higher end of support. And what we hope to achieve then is that by rebalancing the way that we work, that more children and families are supported through prevention and early intervention, and that there are less children, therefore, that need that statutory intervention. And some of the key projects that feature as part of our transformation programme, we have a workforce strategy, which is very much focused on continuing to grow our own registered workforce, and that was social workers and residential staff. Building on our success of our social work academy, so that our social workers are nurtured and supported to have the very best social work skills aligned to our model of practice. Very much looking about how we can create apprenticeship routes across the service so that we can support local people to become part of our workforce, and have strong and stronger links both to FE and HE locally. And we're very keen to continue to support our staff to progress and develop across social services, not just child and family services. So those are the big ticket items in our people part of our transformation plan. In terms of permanence, the local authority has statutory duty around permanence, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the Welsh Government new policy around eliminating profit. So a lot of our energies at the moment are focused on how we can grow our in-house residential care. A lot of activity around that in terms of capital acquisitions and the refurbishment of properties in the right place that offer the right accommodation for children in Swansea. We're looking to collaborate with not-for-profit providers so that we can grow local provision with those local providers that fit one of the models that Welsh Government have set out in the legislation. We are on a drive to recruit more foster carers, and we know we need foster carers that can support older children, particularly teenagers, but also foster carers that can offer short breaks and respite for families, and also foster carers that can support parents and babies once they leave hospitals, so that we can support more and more babies to stay with their family. And we're doing a lot of work around, and we did bring a report, I think, last meeting, Chair, around how we can continue to improve the offer of support for special guardians and also our kinship carers. And then on prevention, there's a lot of activity there, which ranges from looking at our current early help model and making sure that it's still in the current context, able to deliver all of the support that families need at that very early stage. We've got a key focus on how we support families and their parents and carers and where their children have additional needs or a disability. We're very keen to look at how we can create a city centre hub for our young people. That's the place that they have said that they need their support services brought together. And we're looking to develop that in partnership with people like housing, with Barrod, with health, so that it's a bit of a one-stop shop, expanding what we have currently in information. We're very keen to make sure that we have the right services in place that support families so their children do not need to come into care. So our family support services, we continue to evolve those to be able to meet that demand. And another report that's coming to, another topic that's coming to this committee is about transition to adult services. We can give more detail on that. So we know we can do better. We know we can do things differently, but that's also about transition through ages and stages, not just into adulthood. And also we'll look at how in future, what that means in relation to health and not just local authority services. So, I mean, I think those are we're going to be very busy for the next 3 years. But we do have to, we're very clear in terms of what that would mean in relation to rebalancing care. And what I mean by that is that we would seek to have, although we will have less children that need to be looked after by the local authority, and Swansea does have a picture that is for the last 5 years at least where we are seeing less children come into care. The big picture for Wales is that there are more, but not in Swansea, is that we will have less children going into externally commissioned care. And more children that have in-house provision, whether it's residential or foster care or kinship care or special guardianship. So that's, I guess, the main areas in terms of child and family services and our transformation, as well as being clear about our end goal in relation to more prevention early intervention, less recourse to statutory intervention. And what that means for children and families is that they're helped to live their best lives together in their community. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Angela first, please.
Hi, sorry, just a couple of questions of interest. When you talk about developing the centre hub, with what are you thinking? Have you got any ideas already? There was a place in Manchester that I saw recently, and it had kind of, you know, music rooms for music lessons and various activities, pool tables, you know, just things to ignite passion for young people. And I didn't know what your plans were, so I was just wondering if it's anything similar. That was my first question. I have a few more.
Okay, thanks. So that sort of along those lines, but very much in terms of there's some pragmatic things. So we're looking to relocate our youth justice activity centre there, and that would have some of those activities there, but also they offer a lot of vocational learning for those young people that are on the edge of the youth justice system or in the youth justice system. So it would bring in things like music, therapy, and other areas in terms of vocational skills and qualifications. But also we're keen to hear from young people about what they would like there, so rather than us adults deciding, but I'm sure they would welcome those sort of things. But because it would be multi-agency and building and learning on what we already have in place through information, through youth justice, and other activities happening in the city centre, we know that our young people just would like somewhere to drop in and have a chat, have a hot drink, and go somewhere that's safe and they can get on free Wi-Fi and be safe together in a place that's well lit. So those are the sort of things, definitely we're looking at that in the city centre and then evolving it as we get more young people's voices heard and understanding what their needs are.
Okay, that's great news, thank you. And then staff, you said there's minimal vacancies, which is good news. Have we done anything different to retain the staff?
Obviously we're a great place to work. That's but yeah, I mean, we try lots of different initiatives because we appreciate that. So if we think back to when I first came here 5 years ago, we had a social work recruitment crisis. So we've tried different ways to attract people to want to become work as social workers in Swansea and things, but we haven't stood still. So we started with something like we started with offering a retention payment, which didn't actually work too well. But what we then did was develop the academy, which is a great draw for newly qualified social workers. We've created a specialist social worker role, which has helped to stabilise the workforce where they're working with children on the register. We are now looking to develop that further by thinking about apprenticeship routes that could bring you into social care, and then through alternatively qualified routes. So I think that there are, and our residential childcare officers, we've introduced a different type of role, which has attracted people. And we're looking at different ways that the homes work in terms of shift systems, which is also attractive to people. And we're getting better at promoting what's working really, really well in Swansea, and we're getting some national recognition for that, which I think also, my comment about we're doing some really good stuff in Swansea and people want to is actually serious. We are doing some really great work here and some great practice. So, but we don't stand still. We continue to explore, and that's our workforce strategy is very responsive, and we're looking to be proactive rather than reactive in our strategy.
That's really good news. Well done. And just one more, just about foster caring and needing more people. What are you doing to drive that forward?
We've got a regional development team, so we have a regional plan and also a local plan, and so we've got various marketing strategies, and we're seeing some success from that compared to this time last year. We're getting a lot more interest. So the targets that we've set to recruit more foster carer households this year, we're confident we'll meet. So we're working with the national team as well in terms of being part of their national campaigns and developing lots of different marketing materials. But what's working really, really well is going into communities. So at scrutiny panel, the councillors there asked for information that they could promote in their communities, and have offered venues for us to go into communities to talk to people, explain to them about what it would be to become a foster carer. Schools are really engaged. Some schools have put banners on their railings outside school. So we're open to any creative solutions, but what's working really well is connecting to communities through avenues like schools, but also elected members and local people.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela. Kerry, you going to try?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hiya. Good afternoon.
All right. Apologies for that. I'm having a bit of a nightmare with my devices. I'm on a laptop now. It may die on me, but we'll give it a go. I was just going to say a similar thing, really, to what I was going to say, what I would have said with adult services, and going back to how Dave described what the ask is of us. And I was just reflecting when Dave was speaking about transformation. It's a really nebulous concept. It's really difficult to understand what transformation means. What does it mean? How's that, what are we seeking to change that's different to business as usual and all that? So my sort of observations or thoughts were about comms, really, in terms that, you've described the programs, the different projects that sit under the different programs. So presumably they've all got program boards and things like that. And I think it might be helpful if we could sort of see a visual representation. Apologies if that is in the report, right? But a visual representation of how the projects sit alongside each other, how they overlap, how they're described, maybe like a pen picture of what they're trying to achieve, benefits and so on. And just to get a sense of what that is, because to then try and describe what the end state should be without really understanding that is, very difficult to say the least. So I think that was kind of my thoughts on that. And you can get a sense from both what Amy has said, and obviously Children's Services as well there, around, it's kind of on that trajectory, go from COVID in terms of moving towards prevention, early intervention, moving demand away from acute to preventative services and so on, less acute services, more preventative stuff. Get that, but I think it would be good if we could see some of that. So that's my first point, or see more detail as well, and also dummy down for councillors, I guess. But also I think my second point would be around when it comes to transformation. Obviously, your starting point of transformation is is the needs, isn't it? It's population needs assessments or analysis or whatever, and then capturing data. And I was just going to ask, as this Children's Services now, Children's Services, how confident are we that the data that we've got is good quality, that we're capturing it, and that's driving our transformation as well? So those are the two things.
Should I do the data one first? Is that okay? And we're getting better at data in terms of becoming more sophisticated and making best use of data from different sources. So an example would be babies and the impacts and reasons why, and thinking about where children were at birth previously in the past have been removed. And then that has decreased over time. So we are getting better at gathering data to understand what the causes might be. And also thinking about looking back and looking forward from a data perspective, thinking about numbers, but also thinking about the contributory factors by linking better with regional partnership boards, such as the Area Planning Board, and health colleagues, about understanding the responses and what they could be rather than it all falling to the local authority. So we're really good at using our own data, and we're getting better at therefore mapping that data out, looking back, understanding the current picture and predicting forward so that we can get better at modelling and financial forecasting. So therefore we can also then think about what the future might look like and what that might mean in relation to resources and investment, either from the local authority or other partners. So I think in short, we are on a journey of it becoming more sophisticated as we go along. So we understand not just from a process perspective, but also from a people and community perspective, and very Swansea specific, but being able to reach out and think about what's impacting on that, understanding what's within our control and what isn't, and then modelling that out in relation to different cohorts of people.
Chair, I'll come in on Kerry's first screen. No, absolutely fine to share more of the detail that gets submitted at the moment to the corporate transformation through the corporate transformation program, but we can get some of that, get some of the initiation documents, etc., some more details of the individual programs, etc., some of the documentation that's shared at the various boards, and circulate that to committee members. I guess when we get to the end of this discussion today, you, the chair, and you as committee members can take a view on, do you want to do some more homework outside of the committee and then come back with some advice about, well, this is how we would describe what you're describing to us, hopefully in more understandable form. And if you want more documentation to help shape your consideration, that's absolutely fine. We can circulate that. And irrespective of whether you need it for the task that's before you today, it's absolutely right, given the nature of your committee, that you have plenty of information about this stuff, because you might want to deep dive into some elements of it as you grow your future agenda of items that you particularly want to support going forward. So it can be for two purposes, but happy to provide that extra information.
Thank you, Dave. Leslie?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think I want to echo a bit of what Kerry has said. It's more of an observation of what we're being tasked to do. And I did recall right at the beginning, Dave, you sort of mentioned just putting this in words that hopefully not just us as councillors, but the public understand. So can I pick on exactly what Kerry said? The word transformation is not exactly that easy for the bog standard person to understand. And looking at the rest of the description, program is seamless, digitally enabled customer experiences underpinned by real-time data. I'm not even sure I totally understand fully what that is trying to get across. So I hope that one of the things that we will finally come out with is something that explains that far more easily, so everyone knows, not just us, but the staff who are working at it. I mean, it's very easy to sometimes think, oh, staff, because they're in that, understand all this technology, but I'm sure there are times when they get quite baffled by the terminology, the jargon we tend to end up using. Sorry, I've rambled on a bit, but it's sort of just an observation about wording and how we're going to get to that. Thank you.
I'll come back in, Chair. So again, that's really helpful, Councillor Wharton. But just to be clear again, that was given as an example from another programme. So another committee has worked, so whichever of the boards is overseeing digital transformation has already considered this, and that's what they came up with as a descriptor of the end state of that particular programme. But I do understand what you're saying. The ask of us is, what would be our descriptor as a committee for the programmes around adult care, children's care and enabling community? And I'm with you. I'm encouraging us to go with the challenge of, let's try not to make it technical jargon, but from the descriptors that you've already had from the heads of service, they're enormous programs with huge levels of complexity, you know, many strands. And what we're being asked to do is come up with something that very simply, almost in a sentence, says, what's the purpose of this activity and where do we think we're going to get to in a few years' time? It's actually a really difficult ask, but nevertheless, that's the ask that we've got. And I guess it comes from that panel performance assessment where they looked at all the existing documentation and said, it's really complicated. How does anybody understand what all of this means? Particularly the most important customers of the council, our population. How do they understand what all of this, what the point of all of this transformation work is? What is it the council's trying to transform? Where are they trying to get to? So it is a complicated ask. You know, we're having sensible conversations now. You're asking sensible questions. It's still going to come back to either at the end of today's session, or if you want further information and a further opportunity to consider more of the complexity that we can share through paperwork, coming up with almost a strap line of what is it, what's the point of it, where are you trying to get to? That's the ask. And if I had an easy answer, I'd have just suggested one to you. But frankly, I don't have an easy answer either. That's why we're having the debate. That makes sense, Councillor?
Yes, thanks.
You've got one more to hear, if that's okay, Chair.
Yes, please,
Jane
Dave.
Jane will take us through the enabling communities strand.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Chair. So the service area that sits with me is really interesting. I'll say that because it keeps me on my toes, because it underpins and supports the delivery across adult services and child and family services that you've just heard from Amy and Julie around those back office business type functions to deliver the transformation or the areas of work in that way, around looking after the money, whether it's revenue or capital, whether it's digital, well, whether it's AI or technological, all of those kind of things like that. So those kind of services sit with me and underpin all of the delivery across all of the across the directorate. It is, and I guess it's just to sort of reflect on the complexity of the directorate, which makes the job even harder to describe it. It's almost like it's quite a big business in itself when you've got a turnover of about £300 million worth of revenue funding between all of us, just over 2,000 staff. So all of those big numbers are really hard to understand. But we don't. So when we're talking about it, and we talk about it when you've heard about when we talk about the budget, we talk about the 3 E's, not the 3 P's, just to add to the confusion. So about economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. So spending less, spending well, and spending wisely. So those principles underpin the delivery of all of it. But in terms of the other part of the world that sits with me is around those community services. So those cross-cutting enabling communities approaches that sort of seek to support the delivery of the transformation programs or the target operating models in both adults and child and family. And that transformation program has just been sort of revisited quite recently in terms of an aim. So the core purpose has been to sort of enhancing the way we work with communities, making sure that we have better collaboration, better use of resources within those communities so that they're connected, there's got good building relationships, and we improve lives for people in Swansea. They're very high level, kind of cuts across all of the kind of work we're looking to do. And under that enabling communities transformation program are 5 projects, there we go, that you've probably heard about in this committee. So the volunteering project would be one of them that you've heard around. Anthony's been here several times to talk about where we are about volunteering, making sure that we're making the most of volunteers, and we're doing that in the right way. The digital inclusion project that we heard about last time, that's another project that sits underneath it that we're looking at developing. I know Councillor Walton's been involved in meeting with the staff teams to see what we can do and look at that as a team, how we listen and work together with our communities, and then how we really understand and know the communities about what the services and the people who are in them, but also the places and spaces that might be there to deliver from it. So they are the sort of transformation projects that sit under it. But in terms of like an end state, what we'd be looking for is those outputs or outcomes for people in the communities. I'm trying to do this now in plain words, but that's really difficult, isn't it? So making sure that there's those clear links between the different community hubs so that you have got a clear pathway between them. So a community hub might be one thing, but you wouldn't want to stick everybody in it and say, well, that can resolve all the problems for everyone. But so you might have different hubs in different places doing different things. So it goes back to the right support by the right person at the right time, but understanding how they all interconnect and how they link together. Communities then are safer, so that we're making sure that they're safe, and that through those targeted supports for people who are at risk, communities then play that integral role in shaping and an active role in shaping local services, strengthening cohesion and the value that communities can bring. That better partnership working, so we don't have to deliver everything as a council. There's loads of partners, albeit it could be in the third sector, in the different public sectors. How do we all work together to really make the best for our communities? And intervene at the earliest possible stage, so that hopefully the lives are better. We don't even have to talk about statutory services coming in. Increasing those opportunities in the communities, employability and skills and community learning, understanding what we can do in terms of those government grants and those targeted schemes and how we get those out to everybody in terms of making sure that it's easy accessible for everybody, but really understanding, I guess, how communities work, because it's not a one size approach that fits all. So I think that's how you sum that up in a sentence in terms of the core purpose and the end state. It is difficult, but actually they are sort of people and community based services that have the same ethos in terms of social care. It's either supporting the people who are delivering social care to be as the best they can possibly be, or it's supporting our communities outside of the social care arena, so that they actually that independence and that prevention early help agenda. I don't know if I've done that particularly good. It's quite difficult, but I'll pause there and for questions.
Thanks, Jane. Any questions or observations for Jane? I think for me, Jane, it is very much about grassroots, starting at the very beginning again, and building that empire, I will say empire, to give people the confidence and give them the independence, and to show them that they can achieve. They just need that little bit of support, and we all know there's more bad days than good days. People are traumatized. So once again, I think for me, I know the work you and your team are doing. And in some communities, they are delivering quite well. But it's hard because I know I'll take where I live. I've lived it all my life. Concept of communities starting to find its face. It's there. But it's giving people the confidence and the independence, and maybe through volunteering, or maybe showing as an example that if you're a carer, you've got a massive amount of skill and talent. So how do we kind of give that confidence for people to continue? And I think there's so much talent out there because we all bring something different to the table.
Chair, you've knocked your mic off.
Thanks, Les. I was shouting at the dog all afternoon. I can't hear me now. So I don't know how far I got, but it is about giving people the confidence and really the independence to achieve in the communities. But we are moving fast, and I see it up here where we are. But there's a lot of work to be done, Jane, and I think we all know that. And going back to basic, simple, dialect is just like ABC 1, 2, 3 to me, but it's very hard to find those basic words, for people to understand and for people to grasp where we are. So, from me to you, thank you again, because you've attended loads of times, like everybody else that's attended today. But we've got a big, big job. And, you talk about timelines, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Time moves fast. And, to achieve anything is better than to achieve nothing at all. So we've got a big, big agenda. And as I say, the little things make a massive difference to the people out there who feel they got nothing. It's hard, very difficult for them. But thank you. Kerry. Kerry, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, thanks for that, Jane. And when you were talking, I can see the importance, obviously, of what you're doing. Basically, following on from Amy and Julie and describing kind of the objectives of their respective programs, and how central to the delivery of what they're describing your approach isn't it? Is fundamental into that move into prevention and community based rather than demand on acute services, etc. I was just wondering, given how integral kind of that would be to both the other programs, one, what the thinking was around why you have a separate program for it, and then secondly, and kind of following on from that as well, then I'm just wondering how more broadly across the council the various transformation programs are working together, because Dave's referenced a few times the digital transformation, which also will tie in quite closely with you, I would suspect, and the others too. So anyway, so those are my two questions really. One about why the separate program rather than sort of consider it as an enabler for the other two programs or something like that. And then the second question around, how we're managing overlap across the council.
Thanks. Am I okay to come back, Chair? Thanks, Gary. It's
Yes, sure.
it's a really good question, actually. So I guess the Enabling Communities programme and transformation programme has been standalone because it crosses the whole council. It's not just social care. So it will support the delivery of adults and child and family, if we've just talked about, but it also supports the delivery, I guess, of other parts of transformation programmes across the council. So that's why I think it was agreed to be a separate one in the first instance. It's not saying that it's just making sure. So the programme board for Enabling Communities isn't just social care colleagues, it's across all different departments of the council. So that's how we manage that, because actually I think I give an example in terms of housing and mental health, that when Amy was speaking, in terms of actually how we join up that early help approach, and what other offers can be brought to the table. If you think about young people in Julie's area, but actually that's got what does the leisure and tourism part of the council bring to help that agenda? So that's why it's cross-cutting and why it's separate at this point in time. I think in terms of the other services, you're absolutely right. There's the digital one that crosses over. There's a digital transformation programme. I guess I'm probably the conduit who sits on those digital boards, because actually what's happening is the whole council. It's really important for us to understand in social care, so we can make the use of those technologies in the best possible way and really understand what that means for practice. And there's a couple of cross-cutting ones. The workforce one would be another example, whereas obviously workforce development and growing our own, as both Amy and Julie have spoken about, is really important, but we need to make sure that fits in and aligns with the wider council approach, and the wider council approach supports us to deliver as well. So that's kind of how it's constructed and how it reads across. So it tends to be me that's the person that goes in between and makes them make sure that we think about the linkages across all of it. Does that make sense, Kerry?
Yeah. Good answer, Jane.
Thank you very much.
Chair, you're on mute again.
This dog it is, I tell you something. She'd be looking for a new home now. She's wild today. So Dave, do you want to come in and just sum up where we are?
Yes, I guess the task for the committee, and you might want to give some consideration outside of the room and perhaps feedback by your letter if you do a letter, Chair. If you go to the report at point 8, 9 and 10, if left to our own devices, we describe purpose and end state, something like as described in those paragraphs. Yeah, so an end state might be that we are working towards providing sufficient or maintaining that we can always provide sufficient, safe and financially sustainable models of care and support for individuals who have care and support needs or require to be safeguarded. Something around working towards our described target operating models, and they're mainly predicated on developing a range of safe and effective prevention and early help services designed to avoid or delay an individual requiring statutory managed care and support. And that might lead us to think our end states are something like making sure that we can always provide the right care from the right person at the right time to ensure individuals, carers and families remain safeguarded and maintain their well-being. And that's a version. You could have lots of ways of describing that, but that's officer speak. I guess the task for the committee is that understandable? Like you have challenged already today when you started talking about the digital one, you know, that sentence it's accurate, it is describing what work's being done, but is it understandable to members of our community? Well, for this one, is what I've just described in the report, just read out, would that be understandable to one of your constituents who's either currently accessing social care or some intervention from us, or might in the future need social care or some intervention and support? Is that understandable or not? That's the challenge for you. And you might just want to take the opportunity, Chair, for committee members to reflect outside the room. We'll send you some more of the underpinning paperwork of the various programs, and literally come back with, perhaps via your letter at the end of the committee, Chair, to the cabinet members to say, here's the advice from the committee. Here's how we would strengthen some of those statements, or perhaps reword some of those things. Or on reflection, you might say, it's difficult, but we can't necessarily come up with anything greatly better than that. Go with that. There is a bit of a time pressure in that I think all of the committees need to have fed back at some point during December in time for a report to go through whatever overall governance it needs to go through sometime in January. It's something like that. So there's a bit of a timescale pressure as well, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Angela, do you want to come in quickly?
Yeah, just even to simplify it further, could it just be the right care right now? Does it need all, you know, if this is not so many lists, you know, waiting lists, if they're adhering to do it now, the lists are getting shorter, or is that promising something that maybe isn't possible?
I think we'll take it offline. We'll have a group discussion and agree on a set of words if we don't agree with what's already there. But yeah, I can feel your emotion, Angela. I know what you're aiming for, and it needs to be as simple and basic as possible. But yeah, we'll have a chat offline as a committee and try and achieve a set of words. Is that it? Yeah. Thank you, Dave. Thank you,
Yeah,
ladies.
no problem, Chair, and thanks to the committee members for engaging with what's a difficult conversation.
Can I just thank
Okay.
all the officers and apologies for,
Yeah.
arriving late and not contributing at all, but you've all done a perfectly a great job without me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Louise. So we'll move on to item 5, which is the work plan. Let me put the light on because I'm in the dark. Right, so next meeting is set for 12th of January 2026.
Chair,
I
I think the officers want to come in about the items for the next meeting, if that's
Right,
okay.
okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks, Alexander. Thanks, Chair. It's Jane. The tackling poverty strategy results from the consultation was due to come back in January. Consultation is now closed, and we've had an awful lot of comments from the public and from organisations around. It's pretty much actually along the lines of the same conversations we've been having about actually, is it understandable? Does everyone knows what are we trying to do? So we think we've got to do a bit more work on it with partners and with people, just to make sure that it does make sense. So I'm asking for if that could be delayed and come back to you probably in March time, if that's okay. And maybe we can look at other agenda items and move them around, if that's okay, Chair.
Thanks, Jane. So run with the transition then. Julie, is that okay for 12th January?
Yes, Chair.
And then Cwtchmawr forward planning, can we bring that one forward to January?
I think if that one can stay where it is, I think if Amy can come in, I think we've got an idea.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion? At the bottom of the list of future agenda items, there's another topic, date to be confirmed, around day services. I'm just wondering if we could bring you an update of where we are in terms of day services at that time. It won't be the final position because we're in a period of transforming and looking at the 6 types of day service that we'll offer, but we can certainly bring you an update.
For the 12th of January, Amy, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Got that, Al? Capture that? Yep.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
And then we have 22nd February 2026, obviously Cwtchmawr and early years childcare. We still okay with those 2 agenda items at that time?
Yes, Chair, that's be me. That'll be fine. Thanks. Thank you.
And then we have 30th of March, which is obviously the final meeting, which will be recommendations on the Western Bay, and obviously we'll bring that tackling poverty strategy down to there. Is that okay, Jen?
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be fine. Yeah, we'll do that one. Yeah.
Captured all that, Al? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Alison. So that's it for today. Thank you for all your contributions, very valid. I'll send out a calendar invite, see if we can get around the table and agree a set of words, basic set of words, so that people understand, where we are and the aims and the goals. And once again, thank you all for attending, and thank you all for your contributions, very valid today. And I'll see you. Well, I won't see you. I hope to see you before the 12th of January. But I'll try and set up a meeting and we'll try and get it back to you, David, as soon as possible. You're talking about December. Is that earlier or late December?
Any time before Christmas will be fine, I think, Chair.
Okay. We'll aim for early mid then, okay? Okay. So thank you all for your attendance. Take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you, well, as soon as possible. So take care, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you, Chair.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.